Alright everybody, let's talk about Thor in Marvel Rivals Zombies mode. You want to get your Nightmare 4 clear, you want to get your Queen Slayer title. Blade is the meta, everybody knows that, but this is very doable on all the other heroes as well, including Thor. Thor is actually pretty friggin' nuts when you get him up and rolling. And, I'll show you some of that in the background gameplay. But let's go ahead and break down his kit and how you should be using Mr. Thor here. So we're going to go full blue tree with Thor. They did just buff the red tree. I played around a little bit with it, but not a ton. This still felt like the clear winner. This is all about being in your Rune Awakening state, basically, permanently, is kind of the end game goal. It's going to be a little slow starting, but yeah, go full blue tree here. And then what I like to do in terms of abilities is I want to use the Thunderclap Surge. So this makes it so that we do this big shockwave that launch enemies up into the air whenever we use our ultimate ability. And I really like that. So there's a tactic that I use, and I really do apologize. You're probably not expecting this from the ex-pastor, but my brain works this way, and in order to remember things, I use like mnemonic devices. But I often come up with like acronyms to help me remember certain combos and things like that. So with this, I'm going QEF. QEF. There's a certain impolite coarse word that comes to mind when I'm in a sticky situation, getting surrounded, I need to reposition, and I need to keep myself safe. I will remember this word, and you can probably piece it together, but I'm hitting Q to activate my ultimate, pop up in the air. I come crashing down, and it sends everything, throwing them up into the air, right? And then I hit E to put down my lightning realm that's going to shove people away from me and give me some protection inside the bubble. And then I'm going to hit F to reactivate my Rune Awakening. So you'll see that in the gameplay sometimes where I go Q, E, F. And I remember it with a pretty vulgar word that I'm not proud of. Okay, now let's move on to the blessings that we want to be running. Okay, so obviously some of these things are just unilateral across all characters. Moonlight Protection we're going to buy every single time. This is general damage resistance just to make sure that we're safe. We are reducing the incoming damage so that we can survive these fights. A lot of things in Nightmare 4 mode will just one-shot kill you. And you start stacking enough of these, you're going to offset that and be able to tank some of these bigger attacks and without having to respawn. Additionally, Vitality. Anytime I see Vitality purple or above, okay, I'm not taking the others, but if I see 185 or the Legendary, which is a nice 450 boost, we're taking all of those. We do want to stack. Usually I like to have around 10k by the double Wanda fight on wave 20. So yeah, every Moonlight Protection and then every big Vitality buff we're going to take as well. On top of that, obviously we want to have, usually 2 is fine. If you get 2 Vampiric Vitalities, that's usually enough because we're going to be cranking out so much damage that it's percentage based. So every time we hit something, it's just going to take us right back to full health. Once you've got 2 of these stacked, you should be good to go. You don't need to invest in any more of them. Beyond that, we do not want any Zeus's Thunder. We do not want any Primordial Frost. These do not pay off. I do not recommend. You're just not going to need them. You're just not going to. Everything's. I'll show you in the gameplay. Like once you get this thing up and moving with neither of these buffs, it does not matter. You're going to see, especially the big Sentinels, the guys with the shields and the clubs. They're just going to drop immediately. I can basically spawn kill the whole mob of them and delete them super easily. Full Moon, we're only going to take early. If we get it between waves 1 and 10, we can pick this up. Anytime after that, I don't recommend it because it won't pay off as much as if you were to start stacking these earlier. Beyond that, we got to talk about Power Surges. Anytime I see a Power Surge that is blue or above, right? So if I see the 8%, I'll take it. I don't take the 1, just the 2.5. But if I see the 8%, every Power Surge I'm going to pick up on Thor. And that's because our single target damage is going to be really nasty. And so we're doing individual attacks. It's not like Magic who's spreading explosions throughout the entire mob. It's not so much about AoE as much as it is just hitting everything with big damage. That's our goal here. We're going to be penetrating everything. And we want every projectile that touches somebody to do big damage. So we're going to pick up the Power Surges that are +8 and above. Now we get to the blue cards. So we're not going to do any reds, no reds at all. Don't pick up a single one. When it comes to blues, here's what we're looking for. All Father's Might is a fantastic card. We're going to pick up every one of these. This is just a general damage buff So every one of these is just going to compound our damage output. So we want every Allfather's Might. Generally speaking, these are better than Power Surges just because the percentages are bigger, right? Power Surges are great, but the tier 2 of Power Surge is 8%. The tier 1 of Allfather's Might is 8%, right? So it's just more bang for your buck. So if you have to pick between the two, usually you're going to go with Allfather's Might. Enchanted Flurry, this is just your attack speed. So we want to pick up every one of these because the faster we attack, the more DPS we have. Pretty simple. Power Prolongation. This one's interesting. So I could go both ways with this. Originally, I was only picking them up because this is basically going to extend the duration of your Rune Awakening state, right? And we want to be in that state all the time, but we're also going to be able to just like turn it right back on when it runs out with another card called Rune Recycle that we're going to pick up. Originally, I was like, as long as I get to 200 seconds on my duration, it's not actually going to last that long because you're going to suck time off of your clock by using your right-click ability, which we'll get to in a minute. But my baseline was 200 seconds, and then I was passing on Power Prolongation. But then I was running into this issue when bossing at Wave 15 and Wave 20, when you've got the two bosses. Every now and then you're going to have this situation where it runs out, and you can't just turn it right back on immediately. There's like a 2-second window there where you throw your last lightning ability, and then you go back into your normal state, and then you have to reactivate it. And in those 2 seconds, there are too many boss abilities that can kill you in 2 seconds. And so you will be able to leech no life for 2 seconds. Usually that is just enough time for you to get nuked by a lot of abilities out there. So I kind of flip-flopped on this. I think if you're queuing with 3 other people, you could probably get by with just 200 seconds on the duration. But if you want to play it safe, only pick up the legendary versions of Power Prolongation, right? They'll give you 130% duration, and you'll probably eventually get to the point where you've got 300, even 400 seconds on that timer, and then that's just not an issue. And so what I'll actually do is there are breaks in combat, even when bossing. There are just momentary lapses in combat, like when Wanda goes into her red ball form and flies away and repositions. It's those moments, or in between waves of zombies, it's in those moments you can hit F to turn off your Rune Awakening state, and then hit it again to turn it right back on and refresh that timer all the way up to 300 or 400 seconds, whatever you've got it at. So that's what I would say in terms of your duration. Okay, we talked briefly about Rune Recycle. During Awakening Rune, a portion of damage dealt is converted into Thor Force. This is going to completely refund your Rune Awakening state pretty easily. You just throw out a little bit of damage, and as soon as you exit your Rune Awakening state, it'll be fully charged and ready to go again. So we just want to make sure we pick up a couple of these so that we've got that guaranteed 100% uptime on our Rune Awakening state. Cool? All right, Thunder Havoc is very important, right? This is just going to make our projectiles bigger, okay? They're just going to be much bigger. That means they're going to hit more things. So again, he's not so much about crowd control, like spreading damage, as much as he is to just hitting everything with one big hit at a time. So we pick up every Thunder Havoc we see within reason. I think once you've got like 4 or 5 of these, you could probably stop, because when it comes to bossing, you don't necessarily need a bigger projectile, you just need a harder hitting one. So get enough of these so that your projectiles basically cover the whole screen in front of you as you're shooting, and you're good to go. Cranium Crusher is a necessity, okay? So Mjolnir Bash projectiles can deal headshot damage. It basically just unlocks this headshot potential for your Rune Awakening state. Repeat upgrades increase the multiplier, so it just means you're going to be multiplying your damage, even like compounding it even more with headshots. So basically pick up every one of these, because even when it comes to bossing, we're just going to be trying to hit headshots the whole time. And then you've got the good old End Storm. During Awakening Rune, holding the right mouse button fires projectiles rapidly at the cost of Awakening duration. So we pick this up. This is a necessity. So this is going to unlock our right-click ability. So instead of just going throw, 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 like you normally do in your Rune Awakening state, instead, when you get End Storm, you're going to unlock this right-click ability, your alternate fire, and you're going to shoot out these waves. And this is basically going to become our new primary attack. It's basically the only thing we're going to be using, okay? Now let's talk about our tiers. Once you hit 20, 60, and 120, you're going to unlock new abilities. Usually out of the gate, you want to you probably want to be at 60 blues right out of the gate. Okay, so as soon as you start Nightmare 4 and you buy your first deck, try to get to 60 here if possible. So at tier 1, the projectiles will explode on impact, and the explosion radius scales with the projectile size increases that we're speccing into with our blue cards. At tier 2, the projectiles gain pierce, so they go through and they don't have damage drop off once they penetrate, right? They'll go through and maintain full damage. Tier 3 gives us just we're like a sprinkler, right? So instead you'll launch 2 additional, so a total of 3 projectiles forward. So you'll have 1 straight in front of you, 145 degrees to your left, 145 degrees to your right. And as we spec into the width of those projectiles, it's basically, we're just going to be a cone of damage that's going to touch everything in front of us, 45 degrees to our left and to our right, and everything in between that is going to get hit because our projectiles are so big. So again, pick up every Allfather's Might. These are big scaling damage boosts. Every Enchanted Flurry we're going to pick up so that we have more attacks going out for more DPS. Power Prolongation, this is kind of up to you. I would say just a good safe bet is 300 seconds and then stop buying them. And then just be intentional about when you turn off your Rune Awakening and turn it back on. Whenever there's a break in combat, turn it off and turn it right back on. You'll see me do that in some of the background gameplay. Rune Recycle, you only need to get a few of these. 2 or 3 of these is probably enough depending on the rarity. But get a few of these, and basically every time you exit your Rune Awakening, you'll have the full ability cooldown ready to go again, right? Cranium Crush for headshots. We'll pick up every one of these, and make sure you get an End Storm. And that's basically it for the cards. All right, let's talk general combat tips. So generally speaking, you're going to want to keep everything in front of you. You don't want to get surrounded. That's kind of obviously a big no-no. So don't put your back to spawn locations. Keep your head on a swivel so you know where enemies are spawning from at all times. When it comes to Thor, some of the best value you can bring to your team is going to be spawn killing the Sentinels, the big guys. So keep an eye on that sort of front right corner of the map where they tend to spawn by dropping out of the sky, or those side doors where they walk out of. If you see them coming and they're all clustered up, because we have a cone of damage, we can take all of them out immediately. You can just completely spawn camp these guys and make sure that they're not going to be clubbing your teammates in the back. Because how many times have you just not seen one of these guys? It only takes one just to drop a club right on the back of your noggin and you die from it in one hit, right? So you're going to be trying to spawn kill the big guys, but also you can spawn kill the exploders and you can spawn kill the green goopy guys. But another thing that you can do that's going to bring a lot of value to the table for your teammates is when you have more than one mob, more than one horde of exploders or green goop throwers that are on the arena at once, because now your teammates don't have one direction they have to pay attention to. They've got multiple directions. So one thing you can do is get to a central location and drop your ultimate. Just make sure that you're looking at the ground so you don't come down in a pool of green, right? That's one thing you got to be wary of. But if you can get into a central location, pop your ultimate, it'll throw all the guys up in the air, and it'll give your teammates like a few seconds of reprieve, where anything that isn't a sentinel is just going to be thrown up into the air and come back down, and they can kind of leech some life, they can reposition, they can get some free damage on the mobs. So that's a big value thing that Thor has in his kit to help out the whole team. Beyond that, when it comes to bossing, I recommend that you keep your distance. I mean, it's going to be tempting to sort of barrel stuff the bosses, and there's only one time where that's the right thing to do, and that's Wanda's final stand. But other than that, you're going to want to keep your distance, because a lot of times you're playing with blades and magics on your team, and they're melee based, so they're going to be up in the boss's face. And the best thing you can do is give them space. If you're close to them, especially when you're trying to break Wanda's bubble shield, then you're going to give them more of Wanda's little immobility bubbles that stun you. You're going to be spawning more of those right where your melee-based teammates are trying to hang out. So if you keep your distance, they only have to deal with their own immobility bubbles, and you have to deal with yours in the back line, and you're not going to be stacking them on top of each other. But this is going to help you take out a ton of squids very easily when you keep your distance and you have this huge cone of damage. You're also going to be able to avoid Namor's whales, and they just won't be an issue for you because he throws them close to himself. So if you keep your distance, you can focus down squids and do damage to Namor all at once. and let your single target damage guys like Blade and Magic kind of barrel stuff Namor and do the big damage to the boss directly, while you're trying to help keep the field of battle a little bit more clear, a little bit more clean. Generally speaking, you do not ever want to use your shift ability, your dash, because it uses a Thor force, and then you're going to have to like bonk something in order to get that Thor force back so that you can activate your Rune Awakening state. So don't use your dash basically ever. It's not something you need to do. It's only going to get you in serious, serious trouble. But yeah, that's basically everything you need to know about Thor in Marvel Zombies. Best of luck to you in completing your runs and getting your titles unlocked. And let me know if you have any more Thor tips to drop in the comments below for other viewers. Thank you so much for watching. Be warm and well fed, and hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.